Have you ever noticed how one small thing can ruin your entire morning? Maybe it's a rude comment online. Maybe it's bad traffic. Or maybe it's just the sound of your phone buzzing before you've even had coffee. Suddenly, your peace is gone, and your whole day feels heavier than it should. The Stoics saw this long ago. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself each morning that he would meet people who were selfish, ungrateful, or rude, not to grow bitter, but to stay ready, to choose composure over collapse. And modern science agrees. Your brain is most sensitive in the first few minutes after waking. The thoughts you choose in that window set the tone for everything that follows. So here's the good news. You don't have to start your day with chaos. You can train your mind the way the Stoics did, with simple, powerful reminders that bring your focus back to what matters. That's why in this series we'll explore 12 Stoic morning affirmations to shape your day. These aren't empty mantras. They're timeless principles tested for over 2,000 years, practical, grounding, and proven to build resilience. And today, we'll begin with the very first. I give my energy only to what I control. Because once you stop wasting energy on the uncontrollable, you finally have the strength to shape the life that is truly yours. Before we dive in, I'd love to hear from you. What's the first thought that usually steals your peace in the morning? Drop it in the comments. And if this message resonates, hit subscribe and join our growing community, people choosing to live calmer, stronger, more intentional lives every single day. Number 1. I give my energy only to what I control. Have you ever had a morning where everything felt fine until it didn't? Maybe you woke up in a decent mood, but then a text came in, or you saw a nasty comment online, or the weather outside just felt heavy. Suddenly, your energy dropped. You were frustrated, anxious, or discouraged before the day had even begun. The Stoics noticed this exact human struggle thousands of years ago. Epictetus put it simply: some things are up to us, and some things are not, yet. Most of us spend 80% of our energy worrying about things that aren't up to us. Think about it like this. Imagine your phone battery is down to 30%. Would you waste it streaming random videos? Or would you save it for an important call? For the things that actually matter. Your mind and your energy are the same way. You only have so much to spend. If you give it all away to things you can't control, you'll have nothing left for the choices that truly shape your life. So ask yourself, what do you usually focus on? The weather. You can't change that. Other people's moods or opinions. You can't control them. The past or the future. Neither is in your hands. But here's what is yours. How you respond to the rain. The words you choose in a tense moment. The single step you take today toward a goal. That's your zone of power. Modern psychology calls this the circle of control. Picture 3 rings. At the center, things you directly control. Your actions, words, habits, mindset. R. Around that, things you might influence. Relationships, work environment, long-term outcomes. San. And the outer ring, everything completely beyond your reach. Politics, global markets, the behavior of strangers. The Stoics, and later, cognitive therapists taught us, put 90% of your energy into that inner ring, a little into the second, and none into the third. Let me give you a real-life example. You're stuck in traffic. You can't control the line of cars in front of you, but you can choose to listen to a podcast that grows your mind, call someone you love, or simply breathe and turn that forced delay into a moment of rest. That's Stoicism in action, not on a marble stage in ancient Rome, but in the middle of your commute. Marcus Aurelius, who carried the weight of ruling an empire, wrote, "If it is within your power, act. If it is not, accept it as it is." Think about that. A man who commanded armies still understood, real power is not on the throne, it's in the mind. So, how can you practice this in your mornings? Try this simple ritual. When you wake up, write down 3 things you can control today. Something small. Like, I will take a 15-minute walk. I will speak calmly in my meeting. I will call a friend and say thank you. Just that act shifts your brain away from the uncontrollable noise and back to your circle of control. Here's my question for you. How much of your energy do you lose worrying about things you'll never change? And what might happen if tomorrow you put that energy into yourself, the one place where it can actually make a difference? I can tell you what happens. Life feels lighter, your mind steadier, your heart more grateful. You stop waking up as a prisoner of circumstance and start living as the author of your response. And over time, people around you will notice. They'll wonder, why is this person so calm when everything else is chaotic? The answer is simple, but not easy. I give my energy only to what I control. So tomorrow morning, before you grab your phone, grab a breath, choose your tone, decide where your energy goes, and watch how even small acts done with intention start to reshape not just your day, but your life. 2. Discipline drives me, not emotion. Have you ever had one of those mornings where you just don't feel like doing anything? You know you should work out, but the bed is too comfortable. You know you should start that project, but your mood feels heavy. You know you should call a loved one, but you tell yourself, I'll do it tomorrow. We've all been there, and if you let emotions lead the way, what usually happens? You delay. You avoid. You drift further away from the life you actually want. The Stoics left us a powerful reminder. La discipline, not emotion. Lead your actions. Marcus Cato, one of Rome's great examples of Stoic resolve, was known for training his willpower by walking barefoot in the cold, not because he enjoyed suffering, but because he understood a timeless truth. Your body may complain, your emotions may resist, but your will must stay in charge. When you allow emotions to steer your life, it's like being a small boat tossed by every wave and every gust of wind. You never reach the shore you intended. But when discipline leads, you become the captain of the ship. You may not control the storm, but you control your direction. Let's make it practical. Imagine someone wants to lose weight. If they only exercise when they feel motivated, chances are they'll rarely follow through. But if they choose discipline, showing up no matter how they feel after a year, the results are undeniable. That's the difference between living by moods and living by principles. Modern science backs this up. Neuroscience shows that emotions are short-term signals, while discipline builds long-term systems. When you act with discipline, you hardwire habits into your brain. And once a habit is formed, you no longer wrestle with feelings every morning. You just do it. The Stoics knew this long before neuroscience confirmed it. They taught, you may not always control your emotions, but you can always control your actions. You may feel lazy, but you can still get up. You may feel anxious, but you can still send the email. You may feel fear, but you can still take the step forward. Let me ask you, how many times in the past week did you miss an opportunity because you weren't in the mood? How many times did emotion delay something that mattered? And if you could replay those moments, wouldn't you want to act from principle, not from feeling? The Stoics weren't saying emotions are the enemy. They simply knew emotions are like the weather, always changing. Some days it's sunny, some days it's stormy, but if you only move when the sky is clear, you'll never complete your journey. Discipline, however, is the compass. No matter the weather, it keeps pointing you toward your values and your purpose. So how do you build this in daily life? Start simple. Write down 1 or 2 core commitments you'll honor no matter how you feel. Something small but consistent. Every day I write for 15 minutes. Or I exercise at least 20 minutes. Make these non-negotiable. At first, it will feel like resistance. But over time, that resistance turns into freedom. Because true freedom isn't doing whatever you feel in the moment. True freedom is knowing your emotions don't control you. You control your response. Discipline is not a prison. Discipline is the doorway to the life you want. When you live by discipline, you're no longer a puppet of your passing moods. You're a person of direction, of intention, of strength. So tomorrow morning, remind yourself, discipline drives me, not emotion. Let your values, not your moods, decide your actions. And day by day, step by step, you'll grow into the strongest, most grounded version of yourself. 3. I cherish each present moment. Have you ever noticed how rarely we are truly present? Most of the time, our minds are split between 2 invisible places: regret about the past and worry about the future. Meanwhile, the present, the only place where life actually happens, slips by unnoticed. The Stoics understood this deeply. Seneca once wrote, "We act as if life were endless, when in truth we never know how much of it remains." His words weren't meant to make us fearful, but to wake us up, to remind us that each moment is a gift, and that the present is the only time we can ever really live. Think about an ordinary afternoon. You sit with a cup of tea, but your mind is racing through unpaid bills or replaying a mistake from last week. The tea cools, the moment passes, and you barely tasted it. If life is a collection of moments, how much of it do we lose because we simply weren't there? The Stoics called the state of being fully here ataraxia, a calm steadiness of mind, untouched by what has already passed or what may never arrive. It wasn't indifference, it was a conscious choice to meet life as it unfolds, in real time. Modern science echoes this wisdom. Research on mindfulness shows that when you anchor attention in the present on your breath, the taste of food, or the sound of another's voice, the brain quiets the circuits that fuel anxiety. Stress softens, clarity grows, contentment increases, not because life becomes perfect, but because you actually notice it. Try a small exercise tomorrow morning. When you wake up, sit still for 1 minute. Close your eyes. Breathe slowly. And ask, what is this moment offering me? Perhaps it's the first light seeping through the window. Perhaps it's the warmth of your blanket. Perhaps it's simply the steady beat of your own heart. When you recognize it, you're already living more fully. Cherishing the present doesn't mean ignoring the past or neglecting the future. The past is a teacher, the future a canvas, but both exist only in relation to this moment, this breath, this step, this choice. Think back to the last conversation you had where your mind was elsewhere. The person's face was right in front of you. Their voice was speaking, but you weren't truly listening. That is the cost of missing the present. Connection slips away. Empathy fades. And even joy becomes a blur. Now imagine the opposite. When you are fully present, life expands. A family meal becomes more than food. It becomes memory. Simple. Hug carries healing power. A quiet morning walk turns into a sacred ritual. The Stoics often reflected on mortality, not to create fear, but to heighten appreciation. They knew that remembering life's fragility makes each ordinary day extraordinary. When you realize today could be your last, the rain outside becomes a miracle. The smile of a stranger becomes priceless. And even silence feels full. So the message is simple. I cherish each present moment. By living in the now, you break free from chains of regret and anxiety. You step into a freedom that nothing external can offer, the freedom of being fully alive. Tonight, when you walk, leave your phone in your pocket. Notice the trees, the smell of the air, the rhythm of your footsteps. Or when you sit down to eat, put the distractions aside and truly taste each bite. You may be surprised to find that life has never stopped offering you beauty. It was only waiting for you to notice. When you learn to cherish the present, you don't need to chase happiness. Happiness is already here, hidden in plain sight, inside the ordinary moments you once overlooked. 4. I decide the emotions of my day. Have you ever woken up feeling fine, only to lose your peace within minutes? Maybe it was a harsh email. Maybe it was traffic. Maybe it was someone else's bad mood bleeding into yours. Suddenly, the day feels hijacked, as if your emotions were stolen before you even had a chance to claim them. The Stoics remind us, it doesn't have to be this way. You may not control what happens around you, but you always control how you interpret and respond. And that difference between reaction and response can reshape your entire life. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, began his mornings by reminding himself that he would meet rude, selfish, even dishonest people. He didn't do this to grow bitter. He did it to prepare his mind. By expecting difficulty, he refused to be shocked by it. He was saying to himself, their behavior is theirs. My peace is mine. Think about your own days. How often do you let small inconveniences decide your mood? The slow barista, the crowded commute, the one negative comment on social media. We hand away our peace so cheaply, forgetting it was ours to begin with. Here's the truth. Emotions are choices disguised as reactions. Yes, a surge of anger or disappointment might rise automatically. But what happens after that is where your power lies. Viktor Frankl, who survived the Holocaust, put it perfectly. Everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, the last of human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. Modern psychology supports this. Cognitive behavioral therapy is built on the idea that it's not events themselves that disturb us, but the meanings we attach to them. Change the story, and you change the feeling. Spill coffee on your shirt. One person says, my day is ruined. Another says, well, that was clumsy, and laughs it off. Same event, different emotional authorship. So what if tomorrow morning, instead of waiting to see how the world treats you, you declared, "I decide the emotions of my day"? Imagine carrying that conviction into every situation. A driver cuts you off. You choose calm over rage. A meeting goes badly. You choose curiosity over shame. A friend disappoints you. You choose understanding over resentment. Does this mean you'll never feel hurt, sad, or angry? Of course not. You're human. But those feelings don't have to be permanent tenants in your heart. They can be visitors acknowledged, respected, and then released. Let me share a practice. Each morning, place your hand on your chest and affirm, "I decide the emotions of my day. My serenity is a choice. My optimism is deliberate." Then, throughout the day, when challenges come, return to that reminder. You'll start to see yourself less as a victim of mood swings and more as the author of your emotional story. Think about the freedom that offers, no longer at the mercy of weather, headlines, or someone else's bad attitude. You stop being emotionally dependent on external chaos and anchor into an inner steadiness. And over time, people around you will notice. They may ask, "Why don't things rattle you the way they rattle others?" That's the quiet strength of choosing your emotions instead of inheriting them from the world. So the invitation is clear. Tomorrow, before the day rushes in, pause, decide. Declare it out loud if you need to. I choose courage over collapse, clarity over chaos, gratitude over complaint. Then watch as the tone of your day shifts because you set it. You are not just a passenger in your emotional life. You are the driver. You are the author. You are the one who gets to say, "I decide the emotions of my day." 5. My path is mine alone. How many times have you caught yourself scrolling through social media and suddenly feeling behind? You see someone's vacation photos, their promotion announcement, their new relationship, and without even realizing it, you start measuring your life against theirs. A moment ago, you were fine. Now, you feel lacking. Comparison is one of the fastest ways to lose peace. The Stoics knew this long before Instagram existed. Epictetus once said, "A man avoids much trouble if he does not concern himself with what others say or do, but only with what he does himself." He understood that the only true competition worth having is with the person you were yesterday. The problem with comparison is that you never see the full picture. You see the highlight reel, not the behind the scenes. You see the smiling photo, not the arguments before it. You see the success story, not the sleepless nights that built it. Measuring your raw, unfiltered life against someone else's edited surface is not only unfair, it's a guaranteed path to discouragement. Think about it like shoes. Imagine trying to walk miles in shoes that weren't made for you. They might look attractive, but they don't fit. Eventually, they blister and slow you down. That's what it's like trying to live on someone else's timeline. The path may look appealing, but it was never designed for your feet. Your journey is as unique as your fingerprint, your starting point, your struggles, your gifts, your scars. They all shape a road that no one else can walk. And the happiest, most fulfilled people are those who stop asking, "Am I ahead of them?" and start asking, "Am I aligned with my values?" Let me share something powerful from psychology. Studies show that people who focus on intrinsic goals, things like personal growth, relationships, health, contribution report greater well-being than those who chase extrinsic goals like wealth, status, or approval. Why? Because intrinsic goals are about your own compass, not someone else's scoreboard. So what if tomorrow morning, instead of waking up and immediately comparing yourself, you reminded yourself, my path is mine alone? Imagine how liberating that would feel. You stop rushing because someone else moved faster. You stop doubting because someone else achieved sooner. You honor the pace that fits your life, your values, your calling. Does this mean you ignore others completely? No. You can still celebrate their wins. Learn from their stories. Admire their growth. But you don't let their timeline control your self-worth. Their journey is theirs. Yours is yours. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Look within. Do not let the actions of others define your peace. The source of good and evil is in your own mind." He was reminding us, the measure of a day isn't how you compare to the world, it's how faithful you were to your own principles. So here's the invitation. Pause and ask yourself, what does success look like for me? Not for my parents, not for my colleagues, not for strangers online, for me. And once you're clear, walk your road with steadiness. Some days will feel slow, some days will feel uphill, but the path will be authentic. And authenticity always outlasts comparison, because at the end of life, no one hands out awards for who finished faster. The only question that matters is, did you walk the path that was truly yours? So remind yourself each morning, my path is mine alone. I honor the pace I'm meant to walk. I celebrate others without questioning my own worth. I am exactly where I'm meant to be, heading where I'm meant to go. 6. Gratitude frames my perspective. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to start the day by focusing on what's missing? The alarm rings, and instantly your mind says, I didn't sleep enough. I don't have enough time. I'm not where I should be. Before you've even left the bed, scarcity has already stolen your peace. The Stoics offered us a different lens. Gratitude, se ne sarot. Life is long enough, if only you know how to use it. What he meant was, simple life doesn't feel short because of time. It feels short because we waste so much of it worrying about what we lack. Gratitude reframes the picture. It doesn't deny hardship, but it highlights abundance alongside it. Look around right now. Your heart beats without your command. Your lungs breathe without asking for permission. You likely have shelter, clean water, food within reach, access to technology more powerful than anything the ancients could imagine. Yet how often do we pass over these miracles as if they were nothing? Modern psychology confirms what the Stoics intuited. Studies on gratitude show that people who practice it daily experience lower stress, higher optimism, and even better physical health. Gratitude rewires the brain to scan for what is right, instead of obsessing over what is wrong. Here's the shift. When you begin with gratitude, the same circumstances look entirely different. A long commute becomes time to listen to an audiobook. A tough job becomes an opportunity to grow skills. Even challenges can be seen as training grounds for resilience. Gratitude doesn't erase pain, it balances it with perspective. I want you to imagine this. 2 people wake up to the same rainy morning. One sighs, "Great." Another miserable day. The other whispers, "Rain means the earth is alive. The crops will grow. and I get a chance to slow down, same weather. Two completely different experiences, because one chose gratitude as the lens. The Stoics practiced something called negative visualization. They would imagine losing what they held dear, not to depress themselves, but to intensify appreciation. Picture life without your health, your family, your freedom. Then open your eyes and realize they are still here. This practice snaps you back into thankfulness. So how can you build this into your mornings? Try this ritual. Before you reach for your phone, name 3 things you already have. Not future goals, not distant dreams. What do you have now? It could be as simple as I have breath in my lungs. I have one friend I can trust. I have another day to try again. Speak them out loud. Let them anchor you. Think of gratitude as the frame of a painting. The events of your life are the picture itself, without a frame. The picture feels unfinished, chaotic, but when framed with gratitude, even messy strokes take on order and meaning. Gratitude doesn't change the painting, it changes how you see it. And here's the deeper truth. When you live with gratitude, you stop waiting for extraordinary moments to feel alive. The ordinary becomes extraordinary. A cup of coffee becomes a celebration. A conversation becomes a gift. Even silence becomes sacred. So tomorrow morning, instead of starting with what's missing, start with what's already here. Let gratitude set the tone. And when challenges appear, as they always do, return to this affirmation. Gratitude frames my perspective. I see what's right, not just what's wrong. I replace complaint with appreciation and scarcity with fullness. When you choose gratitude, you discover that your life was never empty. It was overflowing. You just needed the right lens to see it. 7. I learn from every difficulty. Think back to the last time life hit you hard. Maybe it was losing a job. Maybe it was heartbreak. Maybe it was a health scare that shook you to your core. In that moment, pain felt like the only reality. And yet, when you look back now, you can often see something else, a lesson you couldn't have learned any other way. The Stoics believed that every obstacle carries within it a hidden gift. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In other words, life's challenges aren't detours. They are the training ground. Admiral James Stockdale, who survived 7 years as a prisoner of war in Vietnam, credited Stoic philosophy for keeping him alive. He once explained, "You must never confuse faith that you will prevail in the end with the discipline to confront the brutal facts of your current reality." His hardship didn't destroy him. It forged resilience, clarity, and perspective that shaped the rest of his life. Here's the truth. Difficulty is a classroom. Pain is the teacher. Every setback offers a curriculum: patience, endurance, humility, courage. And if you're willing to learn, the lesson will always outweigh the suffering. Think of a seed buried in the soil. To the seed, it feels like darkness, pressure, suffocation. But that very pressure is what cracks it open, allowing it to sprout into something greater. Our struggles work the same way. The weight we resist is often the very force that makes us stronger. Modern psychology echoes this Stoic wisdom. Researchers call it post-traumatic growth, the phenomenon where people emerge from adversity with deeper appreciation, renewed priorities, and stronger inner resources. The pain doesn't vanish, but it transforms. So how can you embody this affirmation in daily life? Start by shifting the question. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What is this trying to teach me?" One question locks you in victimhood. The other opens the door to growth. Let's make it practical. If you're facing rejection, the lesson might be resilience or redirection toward a better path. If you're dealing with loss, the lesson might be gratitude for what you once had and compassion for others who suffer. If you're enduring failure, the lesson might be humility or the courage to try again wiser than before. The Stoics never glamorized pain. They didn't pretend it was easy, but they refused to let suffering be wasted. Epictetus, who lived much of his life as a slave, taught his students, "Every difficulty in life presents us with an opportunity to turn inward and to invoke our own inner resources." The shift begins with perspective. Struggle isn't punishment, it's preparation. What feels like breaking you may actually be building you into someone unshakable. Imagine looking back on today's hardship from the vantage point of 10 years in the future. Chances are, you'll see that what feels unbearable now was shaping you into who you needed to become. You may even find gratitude for the very thing you once cursed. So tomorrow morning, anchor yourself in this truth. I learn from every difficulty. Say it aloud. Carry it with you when the challenge comes, as it surely will remind yourself. This is a classroom. This is where my character grows. You don't have to enjoy the pain. You don't have to minimize it. But you can decide that it won't be wasted. You can let every hardship leave behind a gift, wisdom, resilience, or clarity that no easy road could ever give you. Because, in the end, life isn't about avoiding struggle. It's about becoming someone who can learn, adapt, and rise because of it. Every difficulty has a lesson, and if you choose to learn it, nothing can truly defeat you. 8. Who I am is not defined by today's results. Have you ever noticed how quickly your sense of worth can rise and fall depending on what happens in a single day? You land the job interview, and suddenly you feel unstoppable. You miss the opportunity, and suddenly you feel like you're not good enough. You get praise, and you're on top of the world. You face criticism, and you spiral into self-doubt. It's as if your identity is tied to a scoreboard that resets every morning. But the Stoics remind us, true worth doesn't swing with outcomes. Success and failure are events, not definition. Seneca, advisor to emperors, experienced both exile and influence, both praise and condemnation. Through it all, he came to understand each new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. Circumstances changed, but his value did not. Think about it. If your identity is tied to achievement, then your self-worth is always unstable, soaring when you win, crashing when you fall. But if your identity is rooted in something deeper, your character, your principles, then success becomes sweet but not intoxicating, and failure becomes painful but not defining. The Stoics called this practice preferred indifference. They desired success, health, recognition, yes, but they didn't depend on those things to validate their existence. Wealth could be appreciated, but its absence did not mean worthlessness. Winning could be celebrated, but losing did not erase dignity. Here's the shift. Today's results are feedback, not verdicts. A failed presentation is a chance to improve communication, A missed goal is a chance to refine your strategy. A rejection is redirection towards something better. But none of these outcomes decide your value. Modern psychology supports this. Studies on self-compassion show that people who separate self-worth from performance are more resilient. They bounce back faster. They take healthier risks. And they maintain steadier confidence. When failure doesn't define you, you can actually learn from it. I want you to picture a child learning to walk. They stumble, fall, and rise again. No one says, "You failed today, therefore you are worthless." We cheer them on because we know falling is part of walking. Why then, as adults, do we attach shame to our own stumbles? Think of your own life. How many times have you achieved something you once thought would prove your worth, only to realize the feeling faded quickly? That's because external results can't carry the weight of identity. They were never meant to. Instead, anchor your worth in something unshakable. The fact that you exist, that you have the capacity to choose virtue, to grow, to contribute. These are not up for debate. They are yours, regardless of today's outcome. So, tomorrow morning, remind yourself, who I am is not defined by today's results. Say it with conviction. Carry it into your work, your relationships, your challenges. Let success be encouragement, not identity. Let failure be instruction, not condemnation. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He wasn't saying outcomes don't matter. He was saying they don't decide who you are. Here's the freedom that comes with this affirmation. When results don't define you, you stop living like a stock market chart. You become steady. You can celebrate wins without arrogance, endure losses without despair, and keep walking your path with dignity intact. At the end of the day, your worth is not up for negotiation. Success may decorate your journey. Failure may teach along the way, but your inherent value, your dignity, your humanity, your capacity for virtue remains constant. So hold this truth close. Who I am is not defined by today's results. Success or failure are moments. My worth is eternal. 9. Adversity is fuel for my strength. When was the last time life tested you? Maybe it was a financial setback, a betrayal, a health challenge, or a dream that collapsed overnight. In those moments, adversity feels like a wall, cold, immovable, impossible to pass. Most people stop there. They see hardship as punishment, as proof that life is against them. But the Stoics taught us something radical. Adversity is not the end of the road. It is the road. Marcus Aurelius, writing in the midst of wars and plagues, said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. What blocks the path is not an obstacle, it's the path itself." Think about this in your own life. How many of your strengths were forged in difficulty? Patience learned through waiting, courage born in the face of fear, resilience shaped by loss. If you strip away every hardship, you also strip away the very qualities that make you strong. Admiral James Stockdale, a prisoner of war for 7 years, credited Stoic philosophy for his survival. He explained, "You must never confuse faith that you will prevail in the end with the discipline to confront the brutal facts of your current reality." His captivity could have broken him. Instead, it revealed a strength that peace alone could never have built. Modern science echoes this. Psychologists call it post-traumatic growth, the way some people emerge from hardship, not just surviving, but thriving with deeper gratitude, stronger values, and greater purpose. Pain doesn't only wound, it instructs. So here's the shift. Adversity is not something happening to you. It's happening for you. Every challenge is a workout for the soul. Just as muscles only grow under resistance, character only grows under pressure. The heavier the weight, the stronger you become if you choose to lift it. Let's make it practical. The next time you face rejection, instead of asking, "Why me?" ask, "What is this shaping in me?" The next time you encounter failure, remind yourself, this is practice. This is training. The next time you feel pain, whisper, "This is not the end. This is the beginning of strength." Imagine steel being forged. Fire, hammer, pressure. It looks destructive, but without those forces, the metal remains weak. The Stoics believed life works the same way. Adversity is the fire. Struggle is the hammer. Pressure is the forge. And you, the human spirit, are what emerges harder, sharper, unbreakable. Does this mean we should seek suffering? No. Stoicism never glorified pain for its own sake, but it taught us never to waste it. If hardship comes, and it always will, then let it leave behind wisdom, courage, resilience. Marcus Aurelius didn't ask for easier days. He asked for the strength to meet difficult ones. That's the essence of this affirmation. Adversity is fuel for my strength. It transforms victimhood into empowerment, despair into purpose. Think back to your own story. Somewhere in your past, there was a challenge you thought would destroy you, yet here you are, stronger, wiser, carrying scars that became lessons. That pattern will repeat, if you let it. So tomorrow morning, when pressure rises, remind yourself, this is training, this is building me, this is fuel. And watch how your relationship with hardship changes. The wall becomes a doorway, the obstacle becomes the path, the adversity becomes your strength. Because the truth is, a life without struggle might be easier, but it will never be fuller. It's the weight we carry that builds the muscles we rely on. And once you see adversity not as an enemy, but as a teacher, you realize nothing can truly stop you. 10. I choose action, not just planning. How many times have you promised yourself, tomorrow I'll start, tomorrow I'll exercise, tomorrow I'll write the first page, tomorrow I'll finally call that person, launch that idea, take that risk. And yet, when tomorrow comes, the plan is still on paper, and life looks the same. We live in a culture obsessed with planning. To-do lists, vision boards, productivity hacks. None of these are bad, but they all share one weakness: without action, they are empty. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself every morning, at dawn, when you rise unwillingly, remember, you rise to do the work of a human being. In other words, intention is not enough. You must act. The gap between knowing and doing is where dreams slowly die. You can read every book, attend every seminar, fill notebooks with strategies, but if you never move, nothing changes. The Stoics believed wisdom becomes virtue only through practice. It's not enough to know what is good. You must live it. Think of it like a bridge. On one side is intention. On the other side is transformation. The bridge that connects the two is action. Without crossing, you remain stuck, always preparing, but never arriving. Why do we stall? Sometimes it's fear of failure, fear of imperfection. Sometimes it's comfort. The bed is warm. The routine feels safe. Sometimes it's the illusion of progress, mistaking planning for movement. But the truth is, clarity comes from action, not before it. You don't wait to feel ready. You act, and readiness follows. Psychologists call this behavioral activation. Small steps create momentum, and momentum builds motivation. One push-up leads to 10. One paragraph leads to a chapter. One phone call leads to opportunity. Action, however small, rewires the brain to believe, I am a doer, not just a dreamer. I want you to imagine two people with the same goal, say, learning a new language. One spends months researching apps, watching videos about the best method. The other simply opens a book and learns 10 words a day. After a year, who actually speaks the language? Not the planner, but the doer. The Stoics understood this deeply. Epictetus told his students, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. The world doesn't change because you talked about your intentions. It changes because you lived them. So how do you bring this into your mornings? Try this ritual. After writing your to-do list, circle just one thing you can do today. Not tomorrow, not someday, today. Then commit to doing it, however small. Let that act become proof that you are someone who moves. Think of action as planting seeds. One seed doesn't look like much, but over time, the tiny, consistent acts of planting, watering, tending create a harvest. Your goals are the same. What matters is not a grand gesture once, but small, faithful actions every day. And here's the paradox. When you stop waiting for perfect timing, you discover that imperfect action is what makes timing perfect. Progress beats perfection every time. So tomorrow morning, remind yourself of this affirmation. I choose action, not just planning. Say it with conviction. Let it push you to take even one small step. Write the sentence. Take the walk. Send the message. Do the thing. Because at the end of life, no one will measure how many plans you made. They will see the actions you took, the lives you touched, the work you put into the world. Intention is the spark, but action is the fire. And each day you choose to act, even in the smallest way, you prove to yourself, I am not just thinking about change, I am living it. 11. Only I decide what enters my inner calm. Have you ever had a perfectly good morning ruined by someone else's words? Maybe it was a sharp comment, a piece of bad news, or even a look that made you feel small. In an instant, your peace evaporates, and suddenly you're carrying their negativity like it belongs to you. The Stoics would remind us, it doesn't have to be this way. Marcus Aurelius wrote, your power lies in your mind, not in outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. He understood that while you can't control the storm outside, you can always guard the stillness within. Imagine your inner calm as a fortress, strong walls, steady gates. Who decides what passes through those gates? You. And yet most of us leave them wide open, allowing gossip, judgment, fear, and noise to march right in. No wonder peace feels impossible. When you affirm, "Only I decide what enters my inner calm," you are reclaiming authority. You're telling the world, "My peace is not public property. It is not up for grabs. It is mine to protect." Think of it this way. A harsh comment on social media, you can notice it. But you don't have to invite it into your living room. A co-worker's bad mood, you can acknowledge it without letting it set fire to your spirit. Life will always send disturbances your way. But disturbance is only temporary unless you open the door and let it live inside. Modern psychology calls this boundary setting. Boundaries aren't about shutting down emotions or pretending life doesn't hurt. They're about choosing carefully what you allow to shape your inner state. Without boundaries, you become reactive, your mood tossed around by every circumstance. With boundaries, you remain anchored, present, but not shaken. Here's a practice you can try. Each morning, face yourself in the mirror and say, "I am the gatekeeper of my mind. Today, I choose what I allow in." Carry that reminder with you. When something upsetting happens, pause before reacting. Imagine that sacred moment between the event and your response. That space is your superpower. Epictetus taught his students, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the view which they take of them." The insult itself is not the chain. Your agreement with it is. The traffic jam is not the prison. Your choice to stew in anger is. The event is neutral. The meaning is yours to decide. So tomorrow, when the world pushes at your gates, remember, you hold the keys. You can let gratitude in and keep bitterness out. You can welcome discipline and shut out distraction. You can choose what strengthens your spirit and refuse what poisons it. Does this mean you'll never feel hurt or shaken? Of course not. You're human. Emotions will come like weather. But you don't have to let every storm settle inside your home. You can watch the clouds pass, knowing the sky within you remains clear. Think about the freedom this gives. You no longer live as a hostage to every mood, every headline, every careless word. You stop being a prisoner of other people's chaos and become the protector of your own serenity. The affirmation is simple but powerful. Only I decide what enters my inner calm. Let it guide you each morning. Say it with conviction. Carry it into every encounter. Let it remind you that peace isn't something you wait for, it's something you guard, moment by moment. Because in the end, no one else has the right to disturb your inner world. That gate has only one keeper, and it's you. 12. I finish the day stronger than I began. Every sunrise hands you a blank page. The question is, how will you fill it? Some days flow with ease, others with resistance. But no matter how the hours unfold, you always have the power to end stronger than you started. The Stoics never sought perfection, they sought progress. Seneca had a nightly ritual. At the end of each day, he would reflect and ask, what progress did I make? What impulses did I resist? Where did I rise? His aim wasn't flawlessness. It was refinement. Think about that. Growth doesn't come from achieving massive victories every day. Growth comes from the steady 1%. One honest choice. One act of courage. One moment of restraint. Over time, those small gains add up to something extraordinary. In fact, if you grow just 1% a day, by the end of a year, you are 37 times stronger. This is the power of compounding applied not to money, but to character. Imagine finishing each evening asking yourself, am I wiser than this morning? Ami calmer. Did I practice discipline? Did I honor my values? Even if the answer is just a little, that's enough, because little by little, strength becomes second nature. Here's the beauty. Even a bad day can end strong. Maybe you stumbled. Maybe you failed. Maybe you lost your temper. But if you reflect, learn, and commit to one small adjustment, that day was not wasted. You turned setback into fuel. You ended wiser than you began. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, don't expect the world to be perfect. Expect yourself to meet it with virtue. That's the essence of this affirmation. The day doesn't have to go your way for you to end it with growth. Think of it like training in a gym. The workout may be messy, painful, or imperfect. But if you show up and move the weight, you walk out stronger than when you entered. Life works the same. Each day is a gym for your soul. The resistance is what builds you. So tonight, before you close your eyes, whisper to yourself, I finish the day stronger than I began. Let that truth carry you into rest, knowing that progress was made, no matter how small, and tomorrow, you begin again, this time with more resilience than before. Remember, you don't need to apply all 12 affirmations at once. Start with 1 or 2. Let them settle into your mornings and evenings. Once they become habits, you can expand. Growth isn't about rushing, it's about showing up consistently. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Which affirmation spoke to you the most? Which one will you carry into tomorrow? Share it in the comments. It's a way to anchor it deeper into your own life. And if these words resonate, hit like. Share this with someone who might need it. And subscribe. Together, we're building a community of stoic strength and steady growth one morning, and one day at a time.